Okay, let's take a deep breath first, because this is such the kind of evening that you take a deep breath and you just settle in. So I'd like to open tonight by telling you a teeny bit of a story of why we're even here this evening. I believe in 2012, it might have been, my husband and I held a presentation at Kanu on Mauna Kea. And I believe there were 10 people in the room that evening at the Olo Olo room, and 5 of them were from my household. I know. And it was about the time that we were in the contested case hearing in Hilo. And really the topic of Mauna Kea, and even really knowing about what was going on, of course, isn't at all like it is today. So I'm just glad that there's more than 10 people tonight, and some of my Ohana are here, and some, of course, of the Mauna Kea Ohana are here, and you are all here. So thank you for being here. Woo! I was like, oh my God. So I just want to set the tone for this evening, and the way that I set the tone in a cultural and a Hawaiian manner is by saying that I have a cousin here with a 2-month-old baby who trusted herself and this baby to enter this room as we're sharing the love, the sacredness, and the beauty of this movement and of this Mauna. So everything we say, do, and feel tonight, let us just remember that there is a baby in this room. Is that okay with everybody? And that's the manner in which we will proceed. In the love and the light, in the piko of the Mauna. For many of you, as well as I, as if we were on the Mauna. With the Mauna in our hearts in Kapualoha. So if you read the flyer or you heard about this presentation, it really is a presentation. It really isn't an evening where we are going to debate anything. We're not really even discussing anything, because then we'd stay here till 9. And I got friends that came from Hilo, Puna, and Kona. So it's just about presenting information and how we go on from here. If the information you receive inspires you, and you really feel it in your heart that you want to even know more. I had a great idea today. Some of you know me. I have great ideas. I do. And when I have a great idea, we make it happen. So my great idea today when I was entering into this room was, wouldn't it be great if we have a class that comes out of here, like we always do, Paniolo class, Paniolo music class, Va'a class. What if we do a Mauna Kea, a Papa Mauna Kea? And maybe it meant every other week and we'd do chants and music and stories from our kupuna of Waimea. And yes, I will be honest that tonight we are not presenting 2 sides of any story. We are Mauna Kea. We will always present a cultural, a sacred perspective, and factual overview. But we welcome everyone. Everyone is welcome here. And I'm going to say that out loud because I promise that. So we have a little baby in the room tonight, and we are friends this evening. And we'll see you on the Mauna, perhaps. So I'm going to have Kalani come up, as we always do, and we're going to set this evening with a pule and bring us all together.
So we're going to start in a way that we start our ceremonies. The way we start when we gather together. And we do a pule, and a pule is to bring us into alignment. And we say, what do you mean bringing this? What alignment? Alignment with, for us, is Keakua. Whether you call Keakua or no Keakua, is God, the Creator, the Supreme Being. Whatever you know God as, or the Supreme One that watches over us, we know that same one too. And our ancestors knew that Keakua was the Supreme Being in God way before the missionaries even touched foot on these lands. They understood that there is a Supreme Being, a Supreme Divine One. And so that's who we align with. But our ancestors, and we also understand that there are many others besides the Creator that watches over us. Whether it's our ancestors, or whether it's guardians, divine beings or guardians that have been placed on this earth, placed on this island by Keakua. So we come in alignment with all that, from above, between, below, and we come in alignment with aloha. Aloha is the purest form of energy, the purest form of anything. Aloha is the gift that Keakua, the Supreme One, the Creator, gave to all of us. Aloha is what's been put into our DNA, is put into these lands of Hawaii, has been put into all of us who breathe these lands, eat the foods from these lands. We all partake, we're all bestowed with this aloha. And so that is what we come and ask for alignment with. Whatever we do, wherever we go, whatever we venture in, whatever we gather in, that's what we do. In addition to that, we'll blow the poo. The poo is like an opening to the piko above, the piko of Waina, the piko between, the piko alala, the piko below. In addition to that, we'll also pikai. Pikai, the sense of the word, is to clear things, clear negativity, clear things, energies that don't belong in this room, where we gather here, and we'll pikai, and the elements of pikai are used with pa'akai, with salt, and with the prayer, and with alignment. And then we're going to ask blessings upon all of us here, just that we can just be in aloha with each other, and that we can leave here in aloha for each other, and aloha for much more than just here those in the room. And that's what we're going to ask for in this pule. Mauna Kea.
mana no whai. Ka pōmeta e te ai uno tātou te mai o kia ka kautōta uno tāmako te mai. Mahara nui a Paolo, mātau te mai, mahara nui, hopa mai tai na koe ho mātau te mai. No laira me te aroha me te mana ware no tātou a Paolo, uikuia, me te aroha, me te mana, o vai no tātou a Paolo. Mahara nui a Paolo, e tuipa i e na piko runa, vai no rara, ma vai no tātou a Paolo. Uikuia me te piko, ki aroha me te piko, te mauna wakia, te piko i loko i honi. Te piko e wahoni, te piko o runa vai no raro no tātou Paua. Tu wikui ko lakahi, me kia roha, a me ka mana, ma vai no tātou. Mahara nui na tui ana, mahara nui na tui ana, mahara nui na tui ana no tātou Paua. Te ao wakea, te papana moku, te wikui e no tātou Paua. Ara no tātou, mahara nui, mahara nui, mahara nui, mahara nui.
Then usually after we open a chant, we open up, after we open with the puli, we open up with some chants. And so that's where I turned it over to a chanter.
We all have our role and our place, for sure. Before we start, though, it's going to be a little while here, so I really would like to offer you folks a seat. So if we could just, before we start with our taking you to the Mauna, which is what we really want to do. We want to take you there this evening in the only and the best way we know how, because we're not on the mountain today, but we can go there in different ways. So we're going to start with getting everyone a seat. So for many of you, if you're like me, previous to 2011, this was the way that we stood on the Mauna. I really had only been on the mountain one time in my life before ever becoming fully involved with the Mauna from 2009 on. So I want to say that right off, because maybe there's some of you like me, who we grew up, in a Parker Ranch family with my dad and my mom here. And this is the way that we chanted, prayed, and honored our Mauna. It was really from the pu'us right up here. And I believe we're on Pu'u'awaka, and we are calling out to Big Mama, as the Paniolo call her. And we are saying that we know who you are, and we remember you, and we are connected to you, and we have a deep love for you, for all that you do for us in every way. And so that was us. Circumstances occurred for my family, Hawaiian circumstances, beautiful, cultural things happened for us, and we became thrown into this, really. A request was made and we answered. And now we're on the mountain. For me, I'm up there almost every other day because there's a need, a want, a desire, a connection, and I just cannot not be there anymore. So that might be some of you as well. So in order to be on the Mauna, the first thing we do is we head to Pu'uhuluhulu. So let's head to Pu'uhuluhulu. So for you from Hilo, you're coming up Saddle Road, Hilo side, Kona coming up that way, and we're going from Waimea right now, right at this moment. And we arrive across the street from the Mauna Kea access road, and we pull into Pu'uhuluhulu, where all our ceremonies really take place before we ascend the Mauna. One of the things we love about being there is because all those cars are passing by when you're praying and you're chanting. And it's actually the most beautiful thing because you know you're changing lives. As they pass by in their cars, they're looking at you and they're going, wow, they still do that. You saw that. I swear it was chanting over there. And we know that something in them is triggered, and they remember that our kupuna used to do that. Or if they're not from here, they witness something. They have the privilege of witnessing a people that still honor the elements and the environment. So that's where we are right now. And one of the chants that we would do at Pu'uhuluhulu would introduce who we are to each other, because right now we're sitting in a room and we only have really one guideline, that we are now all connected together and our conduct is guided by the 2-month-old baby that we have in this room. That's our guideline. If we were at Pu'uhuluhulu, we'd be in Kapualoha and we'd have a whole bunch. So one of the chants we would do would be to introduce each other so we can see who is here. So when you hear the name of your district, we're going to do this chant the first time really slowly. And actually, I believe you have the chant in your hand. It's called Malana Mai Ka'u. And the first time, I'm not going to ask you to do it with us. What I want you to do is look around the room and see where people came from. And when you hear your district or your town or your land's area, could you please raise your hand? And that's what we do on the Mauna. So again, we're taking you there. So we're going to go slowly the first time. Just raise your hand when you hear the place you belong to. Malana mai ka'u, ka'u, me puna, me hilo, hele mai kona, me kohala, me hamakua, he kaele o waipio, he pola o mahiki, he uka o Waimea, he ava kawai hai, he kupe no kawaa o poli ahu, he pala Mauna Kea iluna, papa kua hivi I keali I kawaa, o hia I kahana ana tue. Chant. Could everybody just look at that chant and just find the line that says He pala Mauna Kea iluna. That means Mauna Kea, Mauna Kea, Big Mauna, seals us all together on this mokupuni, on all mokupuni, and throughout the Pacific. And I didn't write that. Our kupuna did, because that's what they felt and that's what they knew and that's what we still know. So this second time, we always do it 3 times. So those of you in this room, Kalani and I, we are not the We Are Mauna Kea Ohana. There's so many of us in this room, and I really want you to know who they are. So in the second time, I'm going to ask all of the We Are Mauna Kea Ohana who have stood on the mountain in this 1 year at any time, standing bravely to protect the Mauna. Could you please stand? And I mean anyone who has stood on that Mauna. Eo, that's right. Malana mai ka'u me puna me hilo, hele mai kona me kohala me hamakua e kaele o waipio e pola o mahiki, e uka o Waimea e ava kawai hai, e kupe no kawaa o poli ahu, e pala Mauna Kea iluna, ha'akua hili keali I kawaa, o ia I kahana ana tue. Then the third time, please remain standing. Anyone who has not been on the Mauna physically, but you've worn your Mauna Kea attire. You have wave signs. Wait for us. Well, we are on the Mauna. You are the Mauna Kea Ohana. You just maybe haven't been up there physically. Can you please stand as well? If you carry Mauna Kea in your heart in any way and you have a connection, you Kuhio. And that's anyone. And really, I'm doing this so you can see who we all are. We really all are the Mauna Kea Ohana. Malana mai ka ume kuna me hilo, hele mai kona me kohala me hamakua e ka hele o waiki o he kola o mahiki, he uka o Waimea he hawa ka wai hai, he kupe no ka waa o poli ahu, he pala Mauna awa kea i luna, ha'akua hiwi ke ali I ka waa, o ia I ka hanana kue. And my whole reason for doing that is because everyone who is connected to Mauna Kea, you should be standing up here with me tonight, with Kalani tonight, but we have the privilege of speaking for the Mauna, so we want to recognize all of you as well. So mahalo, and now we are going to the Mauna. I guess we're traveling by canoe tonight. Okay, so I really, let's just, right now we're just going to open our hearts. I'm going to enjoy your company. I'm going to tell you a little bit about why a picture of Hokulea and Hikianalia would be any part of this presentation. And there's a number of us who could speak to this, but the night is short, so I'm just going to say the most significant way at this moment that it's tied to Mauna Kea. On one of our huaka'i up to the top of the mountain, I believe we might have been taking Halau Kumana Middle School that day, and we were on the top of the mountain, and I believe Kalani asked Havani, which pohaku wanted to go on the worldwide voyage on Hokulea. And my daughter at the top asked all the pohaku which one wanted to go on the worldwide voyage so that it would be the beacon that would take the canoe safely all the way around the world and would guide it back. And if a pohaku from the Mauna was on the canoe, really their end piece, their spiritual canoe would still be here, no matter where they went. And this is a whole semester class, so I'm just going to stop right there. So I watched my daughter go over the summit, go over and then disappear. And I really didn't know why she was doing that, because I hadn't heard the request. But she came climbing up that pool with that pohaku in her hands, and she said, "Mom, this one said that it needs to go." Unbeknownst to her and us, there was a small pohaku that could be like just removed from the larger, and it was the perfect shape of this island. So we trusted that, we believed in that, and we presented it to Nainoa, to Shorty Bertelman, and then to the entire Hokulea and Hikianalia crew in Hilo before they departed. So this pohaku, Mauna Kea, is on board, and the canoe is on board Mauna Kea. So that's the tie-in to the va. So this particular film that we're going to show is really short. Oh, he's going to show it afterwards. He was teaching all day, we didn't talk, so I'm just going to slide this over.
So I'd like to introduce myself, and of course it's my wife, Pua Case, Kalani Flores. We're part of the Flores case Ohana. I just got from, I'm a professor at Hawaii Community College. I teach at the new Palama Nui campus. Been teaching in Kona for a number of years. So I just finished class and got here and got things set up. Now you can't always depend on technology, so I always have a backup plan. I have all these posters in my car just in case the PowerPoint will work. So I was gonna be prepared, but fortunately it turned on, so we're heading off on this today. So I'm gonna try to go through as quickly as I can. I'm gonna sit down so people can see. So the topic is on sacred mountains. And so there's a lot of actually there's some confusion about why the mountain is sacred, what is sacred, and so forth. So I'm trying to give just a perspective about this. So we talk about sacred mountains. There are mountains such as Mount Fuji in Japan. And of course there's Mount Shasta in California. And you know what is known as Mount Everest, but there's mountains throughout the world, Mount Sinai, throughout the world, that the people there, they didn't determine the mountains to be sacred. The mountains are already sacred. It was their interaction with these mountains that they came and were awakened with their connection with these sacred places. So it wasn't man that said these are sacred places. Man, just like Mount Ashwat, was already sacred, but already what the Creator had put on this planet. What I put on here on this planet, on this earth. And Mauna Kea is like any of those other mountains that were shown. I mean, I could have filled up a whole couple minutes with it, and with numerous mountains that are known to be sacred. So everybody, I mean, most people understand the mountain is sacred. Even the University of Hawaii understands the mountain is sacred. It's in their own documents. So not just our kupuna ancestors understood what was sacred, but if you read the Comprehensive Management Plan, it tells us, and I'll read a quote from their plan. It says, the physical prominence of Mauna Kea, as well as its stationing nearest to the heavens, holds a spiritual significance for the Hawaiian people. A significance that can be expressed in likening the mountain to a sacred altar. So we come to the name. The name itself gives you a greater understanding what our ancestors, what our kupuna knew, and what we still know today. The name, from its remotest of times, the name that has been passed down to our first peoples who came to these lands, the name of this mountain, this sacred mountain, Mauna Kea. Literally is translated as the mountain of Wakea, or the mountain of Sky Father. Who is Sky Father? Many indigenous peoples around the world understood the concept of Sky Father. Many indigenous peoples understood the concept of Earth Mother. Mauna Kea, in some of the chants as well, you'll see the name written as Mauna Kea, which is just a shorter version of Mauna Kea. And then also, even a further shorter version is Mauna Kea. So there's a difference in the translation of the words. Mauna Kea, the mountain of Sky Father, and Mauna Kea, which has been literally translated as White Mountain. You have to understand the depthness of our understanding of our people. They just didn't call the mountain White Mountain, although they could have. The name that was bestowed on this mountain was Mauna Kea. And Mauna Kea, as been told to us, is just a shorter version of that. And so who is Wakea then? Sky Father. Who is Sky Father? Sky Father is everything above us, in the atmosphere, in the heavens. In that realm above us, above the clouds. So the question is, if the mountain is connected to Papa, to Earth Mother, then why do they call it the mountain of Wakea? Because if you go to the top of this mountain, this sacred mountain, you are in the realm of Wakea. You're in 40% of the atmosphere. You are literally in Wakea's realm. That is why they gave the name Mauna Kea. You stand in the realm of Wakea.
No place else in the Pacific are you that high into the atmosphere, into the realm of Wakea than on Mauna Kea. And here's a picture. You're above the clouds. You're in that atmosphere. You're in the realm of Wakea. That's why it's Wakea's mountain. These things are put on the earth here, or just randomly put here. The Creator, Keakua, the Supreme One, the Divine One, whatever you may call God, Keakua, put these things with purpose. Things were placed on this planet, placed in this earth, in certain places around this world. And so it was with these islands of Hawaii, and so it was with this Mauna Kea. Hawaii, you see, of course, is the largest island. Mauna Kea is the tallest mountain in the world when you measure from sea floor to the summit. It's not by accident, it's like this. Unlike any of the other mountains around the world, this mountain touches above sea level and goes below sea level. And it's significant in the way it touches. The way it's situated, it's significant. In essence, it sits here in the middle of the Pacific. It's a pico. It was strategically put here because say strategic. It wasn't put here accidentally. It was put here with purpose by the Creator in the middle of the Pacific. This Mauna and these islands are aligned with many other things around the world, aligned with many other mountains in the Pacific. The mountain of Mount Fuji, the mountain of Mount Shasta, they all align with this mountain. Many other mountains are aligned with each other. And not just the mountains themselves, but many other ways. There's much alignments on this earth. And as I go further, so we talk about sacred pico. You hear the word pico, sacred pico. Pico. If you open a dictionary, the word, some of the definitions, there's several definitions, but some of them you'll see in Pukui's Hawaiian dictionary. Navel, umbilical cord, center, summit, the extremity of certain things. But we know most people who grew up in Hawaii know the pico is a navel, right? A belly button. If you're from Hawaii or at least lived in Hawaii for a while, if you heard the word pico, you most think of your navel. And that is a pico. Your umbilical cord attached to you when you're in the womb of your mother and when you come out of your mother, that umbilical cord is also called a pico. On top of your head, that soft spot, the giri spot, that's also called a pico. There's many types of pico around us. But if you look at our bodies, our kino, there's a pico on top, the pico o luna. There's a pico between, pico o vaina, and there's a pico below, a pico o lalo. The pico on top is the one on top of your head. That connects us with our ancestors, with the Creator, with all the life forces that come down, that feed us. These life forces that come into our top pico. Where our ancestors, our kupuna, our elders, others, they feed us, whether it's through our dreams, our visions, through voices. Many things come into our top pico. And so that pico is a connection to the past generations. The pico of vaina, the middle pico, where our navel is, that's a connection to our present generations. And a pico o lalo, a genitalia, that connects us to our future generations. So within our kino, within our body, we have a connection with past, present, and future generations through our pico. But there's another definition that you won't find in the dictionary pertaining to pico. And this is a definition, really an interpretation based upon our understanding, our experiences, that a pico is also a portal, a pico is also a connection. Okay, so we get to Mauna Kea. So how does the pico apply to Mauna Kea? The top of the summit of Mauna Kea is a significant pico, not just for Hawaii, not just for this island, not just for these islands, Hawaii, but a significant pico for the world. Why is it significant? There's certain energies and life forces that come down through the top of this pico of Mauna Kea and It comes in to this island and then gets dispersed through this island and through this mountain. And like I said, the significance of this mountain is energies are not only dispersed through the land, but energies are also dispersed through the ocean. So if you can think of energies coming from the Creator, life forces, divine energies from way up beyond the realm of Waimea, that comes through the top of this pico, and they come down and they're dispersed out. Likewise, there's energies that come up from the bottom of this pico through the earth, and they come up to the top of the pico. So in essence, we have a vortex of energies coming in and out of this mauna. And so if you go to Kahilo Theater, and they did the Mele mural there in Waimea, this is in Waimea, the Kahilo Theater, and you see on the side of the Kahilo Theater, this is what some students did. This is what students did, not just when we didn't even speak to them. This is what students have received, the information, the knowledge, and they received information and insight doing this Mele mural. This is the essence of what the Mele mural and the site of Kahilo talks about. Giving a visual form done by students from Waimea of what they understand about a pico, about Mauna Kea. Now this is an actual picture, the visual. So this is Kehao Marshall took this picture from Waimea, from Wine Homes, looking out at Mauna Kea in 2011 when all these court cases and contested case hearings were going on. There is a pico. I mean, Mauna Kea is the pico. Above it is the portal. There's energies that are going in and out of the mountain at this particular time. Nowhere else. The whole area, people from Kona and Waimea and other areas could see this on this particular morning. The whole over except for this opening right above the mountain. And when we pose questions, and when I say we pose questions, because we do communicate, interact with our kupuna, our ancestors who have passed, and they come and give us insight and knowledge. They said they were giving us so that we could see with our own eyes what they were explaining to us. This is what is happening on the mountain that morning. But many times it's not like this. It's not like you're going to see this happening. There's energies that flow in and out of this pico that we're never going to see unless you have the gift or ability to see things as such. But anyone can see this, what's happening. And they said, this is what's happening on the Mauna that day. And so as I mentioned, this Mauna wasn't just randomly came out of the ocean. This place was put here with intention. Because many places throughout this planet are connected together with energies. So the mountain is also called, the top of the mountain when you go up there is called Wauakua. Our ancestors had these names for these different zones from out in the ocean all the way to the top of the summit of the mountain. There's names for these different areas that you go. As you go up the mountain, there's different vowels as you go up. When you get to the top, this is what you know as the Wauakua, the godly realm. And you have to understand, why did our kupuna ancestors call this Wauakua? Because this is where some more significant akua reside. Okay, so when I say akua, and when I say gods or goddesses or deities, I don't want to offend anybody, especially if your belief is that there's only one God. But truly understand that we do believe, and we do not just believe, we do know there is only one God. But we also know that there's many others. And if you take the word God, the word God or goddess away, then perhaps that might make you more comfortable. And we just replace it with the Hawaiian word akua. And so our ancestors and our kupuna knew that there are many akua around in addition to the one creator. And they all come in from the one creator. The one creator, the one God, the supreme one, put these others on this earth, on this planet, for specific purposes and reasons. Some are to caretake certain areas. Some are to keep things in balance. And so it is with Poliahu. Poliahu, who is Poliahu? Most people think of her as a snow goddess. But Poliahu is more than just a snow goddess. She's a divine being. She's one who has consciousness. She is of the elements. When I say of consciousness, is that our kupuna, our ancestors, interacted with them. Our kupuna chanted to them. And when I say consciousness, because the elements can respond back to you. You're not just chanting to the snow. You're not just chanting to the winds or the rain. You're chanting to an element that has a consciousness that can respond to you, that can assist you, that can envelop you, that can connect with you. And all our ancestors and all our kupuna understood that. And so Poliahu, and we've been on the ceremonies on the Mauna and off the Mauna at times, and she's, especially when we've been on the Mauna, she has been at times come into our circle. So I said, how do you know she's in your circle? Well, you can either see the Hawaii Lonas or feel the Hawaii Lonas, or there are people that can actually see her. There are people of our people, and not just our people, and not just our Kanaka, but there are many people who have gifts of vision, gift of sight, many types of gifts. And we've been at many times, and not just Kanaka have seen her, but many others who are not Kanaka, who are not Hawaiian, have seen her, have felt her. I have seen her, I have felt her presence on a Mauna. We've been in a ceremony, and it's been clear, and she'll come around, and she'll start sprinkling us with snowdrops and so forth. So this is what she shared with us, through family members and others who have ability to interact and communicate with her. Her purpose there on the Mauna is many purposes on the Mauna Wakia. But one of her purpose is to keep the energies clear and clean at the top of the summit. Just to the nature of the mountain draws up all types of energies that get caught and stuck on the mountain. And if you think of it, energies it's like certain energies are heavy energies and certain energies are light energies. But we're talking about the heavy type energies that get pulled up on a mountain by the winds and just the nature of the mountain. It's like, if you can think of energies like dirt in your house. If you don't clean your house and things, people come in with the mud, they don't take off the shoes, there's dirt going to accumulate in your house. Dust and dirt. And you can either let it go and accumulate more and more until you have it's so thick, the dirt, or you can keep it clean. That's what she does. She keeps the top of the mountain clean. And how does she keep it clean? She comes in the elements. She comes in the elements with her snow, her cold, icy wind, her mist. She also has attendants that assist her. So there's Kipu, Lihao, and others on a Mauna, and they come and assist her when called to. And so she plays many roles on Mauna Kea. But most people refer to her, know of her as associated with the snow, the hail, but she comes in many forms on the mountain. And she doesn't only have to come in this form. This is just one of her kino laos that she comes in. Just like Poliahu, there's many others on the mountain like that. That's why it's called Bau'akua, the realm of the gods. And there's many we've interacted with, connected with, engaged with, you could say the word engaged, there's many presence on a Mauna. And so really, when we got into this case, we really were gifted in many ways. Because we were in the case, then this insight they gave us, not just to us, but many of others who've been on the Mauna, we would not have the opportunity to have, and not the opportunity to share. There's a woman of the lake, I want to say a woman, there's an essence of the lake of Waimea. And the question was posed, like, where did you come from? She says she was put there. But a divine creator put her there. as a caretaker of these waters. These are sacred waters. These waters on Mauna Kea are sacred. This lake is sacred. Our ancestors in Kupuna knew that. They would come up there, they would collect the water, and there's certain ceremonies they would come up there to collect water for blessings. Other families, many families from Waimea as well, would go up there and take the piko of their child, the umbilical cord, and put it in this sacred place, in this sacred lake. This lake is one of the most sacred places in these islands, as far as we talk about water forms. Well, the lake started to dry up. It dried up into a little puddle. Never ever did everybody in their life and history ever see it dry up this way. Some say, well, it's the drought and the stuff. No, we have worse droughts than this. When the question was posed, why is the lake drying up like this? What's happening up here? They said this is the Hawai'i Lona. Hawai'i Lona is a sign and omen. It's to make our people awaken that something is not right on the mountain. So they're going to show us physically something is not right. So they're going to drive. Not that they're going to make it show like that something's not healthy on the mountain. Look at the lake. You look at the lake, tell you something is wrong. In your na'au, in your gut, you know something is not right, something is wrong. What's happening here? So a call was put out to many peoples on these islands and many people around the world. Prayers for the lake, prayers for the waters, to restore the waters. People sent their sacred waters from wherever they were, from all over the world, sent their waters. People came to bring their water. People brought their water to Lake Waihau. That Hawai'i Lona activated people. There was even a group that went up there. They actually made a lei, a tea leaf lei, that encircled the entire lake. So people were going up there doing prayers, chants, bringing their waters, and just bringing their aloha for the aina, for the land, and for something was so sacred and so important. And when the group was up there with their lei, when they were doing their chants around there, then came in poleahu, then came in the elements. They came in. The place was clear, like you see here. But once they started to do the chants, the prayers, and brought their lei of aloha that encircled the entire lake, the elements came and responded. Like I said, the elements have consciousness. They came to acknowledge, they came to thank the people who came here. And lo and behold, the water came back. So the power of the people in their prayers, the prayers that connect us with our aina, with our land, with our sacred places, the prayers that connect us with the Creator, with Keakua, or whoever you acknowledge, the prayers that connect us to Wai'au, the woman of the lake, the spirit of the lake, the prayers that connect us with all these elements and places, that is what brought the water back, they said. Because that we as humans, we as Kanaka have not forgotten our connection. And just by that activation of people is how the lake came back to its fullest that was overflowing on the other end. That's how full the lake came back. So who else is up there? There's many others, and in this short time, I can't go over everybody's up there. I just can explain who we know, who's interacted with us, who shared with us, and who brought us into this case of this ongoing legal cases and challenges was none other than Mauna Kea. Mauna Kea, if you know, is a mo'o wahine. It's hard to explain what a mo'o is, but many of our families, if you Hawaiian families, have mo'o stories about these mo'o wahine or mo'os. whether they're down in the ponds, or they're down by the ocean side, in the alkaline ponds, or they're in the rivers or streams. Here in Waimea, we know of and the Mo'owahini of Manaua, who watches over and resides at above Anna's ranch. And by Hale Kea, there's a pohaku there called Manaua, where she also sunbathes there. That's where Mo'oinanea first asked us. And I'm going to ask my wife to maybe to share that part. So when you say Mo'oinanea is a mo'o, the mo'os are, the best way to say it, they're guardians of the waters. And some mo'os are pure mo'o form, and some are part human, and some are part mo'o.
I have to say, even as Kalani is speaking, I go back sometimes and I revert to a little bit of, not fear is the right word, but I think to myself, how is this being received? This talk of akua, na akua, mo'oinanea. There was a time when we first got involved in this case that I was filled with fear and I didn't even want to hear him or myself say things like what I'm going to share right now, because it's uncomfortable still for a lot of people, that we've come so far from who we were at times that it's uncomfortable. So don't be uncomfortable. If anything, just take it as a story. You know, one of them fairy tale stories, and just sit in it, and then you don't even have to go any further than that. So if you know where Manaua is, Manaua the Rain Rock, next to Anna Ranch, between Jacaranda Inn and Anna Ranch. In 1975, there was a severe drought there, a severe drought in Waimea, and my dad was instrumental in locating Manaua Rain Rock again at that time, because it had been covered over. And since that time in 1979, my family has taken it upon ourselves to caretake that pohaku, but it's not just about the pohaku, it's about Manaua, the mo'owahine, who brings the rain, who sunbathes on Manaua Rain Rock. And many of you know that story because your children all know that story from school, as they should. And one day my daughter Kapule and I were there, and Kapule had ongoing conversations. Like I said, this could be another semester class. But she had ongoing conversations with Manaua. She could see her. And I have my Ohana right here, so I'm feeling really confident about what I'm saying tonight, because I know that they're here holding me. And after a while, we would write all these stories down between Kapule and Manaua. And we have them one day to hopefully distribute a book for everyone about the stories these mo'os want you to know. And one day when we went there, Kapule in her innocence said, "Mom, there's another one here today," and I couldn't see her. And I said, "Who was it?" And she said it was the lady from the lake, from the top of the lake. And she explained to me what she looked like, and then we had Diana, a good friend of ours, drew that so that we would have it when we speak like this. This is what Kapule saw at Manaua. And as we were leaving, she asked me to wait. And she turned to the rock, and I knew she was talking to Mo'oinanea. You have to never doubted both my daughters ever when they say anything. And I hope you won't do that to your children or grandchildren, because these gifts are passed from our kupuna. This is the way of our people. And she looked at me and she said, "Mom, Mo'oinanea said, can you try one more time?" And I didn't know what she meant by that, to tell you the truth. I really hadn't been, I was a teacher at that time. I really must have been sleeping or unconscious or something, because I really didn't know about the 30-meter telescope at that point. And so I wasn't sure what she was asking my daughter to ask me to do. And I said, I'll try one more time. For what? And she said, try one more time, Mom, to stop the telescope from being built on the mountain. And if it were you that just received this back in 2000 and maybe 10, think about what you would do at that moment if you couldn't see Mo'oinanea like I couldn't see her. I tell you what I did. I went straight to fear. Yeah, I went straight to big time fear. In that 1 second, you know what I was thinking of? The first thought, I was so stuck. I said, what about the jobs? That was the first thing I said. And I was thinking of the construction workers at that time. Oh my gosh, what about the jobs? Now I think about what about finding them great jobs that their grandchildren will be proud of. But back then, I was there. What about my own job? What about what people would think? And just plain old fear of stepping into a court case, because I knew I would have to. And I'm just one of you, you know? I mean, we're not thinking about going court tomorrow, you know what I mean? Anybody really woke up and said, wow, I really wish I was in a contested case hearing tomorrow? I don't think we do that. And it's taken me from then until maybe a year ago to get over it and get through it. And to have my children really, who had no fear, ever, even when they went to ask for standing in the court case on behalf of Mo'oinanea. You believe that? They go to court to ask for standing on behalf of the Mo'o. Probably unheard of. Yeah, probably unheard of at the time. Appear in the newspapers. Not too favorable on what my family looked like at that point. Now it's different. We've come a long way, haven't we? Where we can stand here in my own community and say, this is how we became a part of this case. Do you believe that? Yes. A little girl said, Mommy Mo'oinanea said, try one more time. And my family were very brave. And I was filled with fear, as mothers are sometimes. And I say that because many of us maybe might be like how I was at the time, and maybe you're still there, or maybe you say, my gosh, I was never there. And that's the story of how we got into where we are right now. A little girl said, Mom, she said, try one more time, and I'm still trying. And so I'm going to hand it back. Oh yeah, when I was filled with fear, I didn't say anything. I mean, my heart dropped to my toes right in that moment at Manaua. And Kapule looked back at the rock and she looked at me and she said, Mommy, the lady said you don't have to if you cannot. If you cannot, it's okay. So you see how they gave me an out there. And I said, tell me why. Tell her to tell me why I have to do this. And once she explained to me everything that would happen on the Mauna, to the rest of the Honua, all the way around the world and back, what would happen if we allowed that immensity of that kind of construction, destruction, desecration on the Mauna, the impacts of that, I have not looked back since.
So I just want to give a little brief explanation, I guess, what is a mo'o. Well, growing up, my tutu's from Halawa Oahu, and she was pure Hawaiian, and she would tell us when we were small that the stories about she used to see the mo'o wahine. Hawaiians sometimes refer to them as mermaids, but they're not really mermaids. But Hawaiians, if you know Hawaiians, call them mo'o wahine or mermaids. But she would see them combing the hair down on the rock with their part of their feet in the water. That was the part, the tail part. But the top of them was human, but the bottom was like scales or so forth. And they would see them on a rock. And so I used to live on Kauai, and there's many other kupuna used to tell me the similar stories about them. Either they seen the mo'o wahine or mo'os, or their kupuna or their parents telling them the same stories. And from Kauai to on Oahu, Maui, Hawaii Island, there's many kupuna who have the same stories. So my daughter told me about she see the mo'o, there was no doubt she seen a mo'o and what she was seeing. And not that I would test her or anything, but we went to many different places around. I wasn't really a test, it was more like, I was more like asking questions. And my daughter, after a while, she gets, after a while you ask your child so many questions, you get irritated after a while. Like, okay, who's over here? And this, okay, well, who is this? And she would tell me things that she would not know about. And that just really further reconfirmed that, like, we went to places that I know she would have never known the mo'o's name over there. And she would tell me the mo'o's name, what they do, who they are, what they look like. And so it was with mo'inania. So who are mo'os? Mo'os, if you could think of it, in the divine plan of the Creator put these mo'os on this planet to be guardians and take care of the waterways, and to take care of certain streams, pools, the rains, and certain aspects of fresh water. But you can also find them down in the ocean where they're connected with, brackish ponds as well. Like Koloko, there's mo'os, of course, if you know Koloko, but it doesn't have to be a big pond. There's small ponds, big ponds, ponds up in the river, up here, up in Waimea, up in high pressure. There's mo'os all over the place. Where there's a pond, there's most times you can find a mo'o. And so, as they explained, so the mo'os gave us an insight into our past, because they lived many generations through human generations. And they could tell us, and would tell us, what happened on the land, who was on the land, what things they saw through their lifetime. So it's like going back into time, but it's not reading a book, but it's through their accounts. And so it was with Mo'inanea or Manaua. Mo'inanea shared with us that our kupuna, our ancestors, ali'i, and sometimes the kahuna, sometimes would send the kahuna up to Lake Wai'au. So Mo'inanea is the guardian of Lake Wai'au. She assumed that responsibility from her mother. I don't recall her mother's name, but she's given us her whole genealogy. Like when I ask questions, like I ask, who are the mothers? Who is the father? Who are the grandparents? Where are they from? And sometimes they share the names, and sometimes it says, well, that's too personal. We're not going to give you that information now or something. So sometimes they say, well, they said it's too personal. And I ask her a question. She says, Dad, they can hear you, But I can't hear them. So I'm asking my daughter a question. She said, they can hear you. And so my daughter would relay the answer. So Mo'inanea told us that on the mountain, when a kahuna would go up there, certain protocols people would follow when they used to go up there to collect water. And so if you were from another island, sometimes you would bring a tea leaf and you put the tea leaf on the water when you ask your permission to gather water from the sacred lake. And if the tea leaf sinks or goes down, they would tell you that's only not at this time. And it could be several reasons why not at this time, or why not they granted you to collect the water. So in Hawaiian protocol, it's always about asking permission, whether it's gathering things from the mountains to the sea, but it's also giving intention. What are you going to use that for? And then the other part is always giving gratitude. So asking permission, giving intentions, and giving gratitude. Those are the basic parts of protocols of our people, and of many peoples. And they would tell you yes or no. And so if it was granted to collect water, they would say, so if you're bringing water from another place, and you're also collecting water from this lake, you collect the water first, if the permission was granted. Then you pour your water in the lake that you brought from your place. So they gave us this, how the kupuna and others, what they would do up there. And then people from this island, certain chiefs, they never have to put the tea leaf on the lake, she said. They could just ask, because it was from this moku, from this island. And there's many other details she shared up there. And I said, I asked the question, what if, you know, like they did something that wasn't, like sometimes some people don't follow protocols, the ways they do. Then it says, you'll see the gust of wind blow up into your face and you'll be blown back at times. And that's like giving the ho'ailona, the sign that no, you never do something correct, or we're not allowing you at this time to gather water. So there's many things the mosaic has given us insight into, not just about the Mauna, but things around these islands. Mo'os, okay, so to make things more confused, first, mo'os, the mo'os cohabitate this planet just like us as humans. They live off the land, they collect things in the land, they have families, so there's not just female, there's male and females, they have children, they've had the genealogy. They're just like humans you could think of. You can think of families of humans, but they're mo'os. Then how come you cannot see them? Well, they resonate at a higher frequency level, like another, it's not really, I don't know if it's another dimension, but they just resonate at a higher frequency. So most of us can't see them. Maybe you can feel them, and some can see them. So that's who the mo'os are. Now, like I said, to confuse you even further, some point in time, mo'os had consummated with humans. Don't ask me how it happened or when it happened, I don't know. Humans and mo'os consummated at some point in time. That's why some of the mo'os are part human and part mo'o. Some mo'os are pure mo'o. When I think we see pure mo'o, like a pure dragon form, like a mo'o, gecko form, like human size, and some even bigger than human size. And then some are part, and some are all human form, and then some can shapeshift. So they can shapeshift to other things. Not all they have the abilities, but they explain that some can do shapeshift to different forms, animal forms, shapeshift from human to mo'o, to where you can see them. And so mo'os, there's mo'os, that's how I'm going to say. So when we go to a place, whether you trust me or not, when you go to a place where there's freshwater rivers or pools, it's to our benefit, like our ancestors always ask permission when you go someplace, especially if that's not your backyard. But there is a mo'o, and mo'o Nanea is one of them, but she's the mo'o, the guardian of Lake Waimea. So we talk about Kanaka Maoli connections to our Mauna, our li'i, our kahuna, all understood why the Mauna was sacred. They all understood the connections to the top of the Mauna. That's why not one of our ali'i, whether it's Umi, the Lord, any of the great ali'i, Kamehameha, and way back before their time, not one of them and not one kahuna ever had a heiau built on the top of the mountain. You have to ask why. When's the Western concept? Oh, you can build your biggest heiau on the top of the highest place. That's the Western concept. They said no, because that's the sacred piko. You don't obstruct your piko. You protect the piko. That's why Kamehameha's and heiau pukola is down here, not on top of the mountain. And so none of our great ali'i, chiefs and kahunas ever built any huge structure or heiau or temple on top of the sacred piko, because they understood why it was sacred. So our kupuna and others used to go up to the Mauna for several reasons, but not everybody used to go up to the Mauna. You had to have a purpose to be up there, because you're stepping into the wawakua, to the godly realm, that sacred realm, and you're stepping into their realm. So, but those did go up there, whether it was to observe certain astronomical events, whether it was to align and do prayers there, and send their prayers to certain stars and certain ancestors. Our kupuna did go up there, and pilgrims. And so there are trails that crisscross from Waimea up to there and vice versa that goes across the Mauna. course, our kupuna did go up there to collect stone to make axes, to make their ko'i. So, but you know, what a kupuna used to do on a Mauna is been like used to justify what's happening on the Mauna today. And that is just, I think, it's one of the most hurtful things when people like say, oh, they used to go up there and they used to quarry up there, so that's why you can bulldoze up there. It's like, wait, you're talking about two different things. Our people went up into the Mauna with reverence. They never desecrated and bulldozed a whole section. They just collected rock from a certain area. Rock that they was given permission to collect from. So just because they went up to collect rocks doesn't mean you can go up there and do something else. They would ask permission. They gave their intention and they gave their gratitude for being up there. And everything that's been built up there, which is, we're talking about observatories and telescopes, none of them would ask permission. None of them gave their intentions, and none of them was, well, they might have said thank you, but granted. How we know? Because the ancestors in those mountains said that. Nobody up there ever asked permission to build any of those telescopes up there. There's a difference. So there's hundreds of shrines up there. So like I said, they never built any big hill on top of the summit, but around below the summit, about the 12,000, 11,000 foot. So the summit is about 13,000. But the 12, 11,000 foot elevation, there's a ring of shrines that encircle the mountain like a lei. And these shrines are a kupuna went up. And it's simple shrines. They never built any massive heiaus. They just took stones and they set them upright. They built certain ahu platforms. Some real inconspicuous. And they would do prayers and set those prayers up to those in above us, into the star realms, to the ancestors, to Keakua, into the realm of Wakea. And you see hundreds of shrines up there. That is evidence that a kupuna did go up onto the mountain for these purposes. But we still have people that still go today on the Mauna, just like our kupuna do, with reverence, to connect, to do prayers, to do chants. And our people of today still build ahu. The ahu, this ahu is a pu'uhulu. This ahu is just an extension of the Mauna. So there's different ahu that our people of today have built. The same way our kupuna have built ahu on the Mauna. In reverence, in connection to everything around us. And many people have different protocols when they go to the Mauna. And our family and others have our own protocols. So Hawaiian protocols are not all the same. They're not done the same way. But for us, before we go up to the Mauna, we usually stop here at Pu'uhuluhulu. Ask permission that we can go up. Give our intention and give our mahalo. Give our gratitude. In the same way our kupuna did. And there's other places we will stop on the way if we're going up to the top. And they say, how you know if you got permission? The elements will tell you. Sometimes you go up to Hale Pohaku. We know that's as far as we're going today. The elements will tell you. The elements have a consciousness. Because maybe something's going on up there that we shouldn't be up there at that time. Or sometimes the way is open for us to go. It's just following an owl. Other times people have gathered at Pu'uhuluhulu. And as things have gone, even before things happened recently, people have been gathering in prayer. And many people here in this tonight are part of that circle of prayer. Prayers have been doing for the land, prayers for our people, prayers just of gratitude, prayers to at times ask forgiveness for what has happened to places, or prayers just to connect. And then the elements will show their presence, like this hoilona above the group there, the white rainbow. If you see or hear, the elements will come around you. If you're paying attention, I should say. So it brings us to what's happening on Mauna today. So this is a result of 40 years of astronomy development and the lack of the state's oversight and UH's mismanagement of Mauna. The cumulative impacts have been, this is from their own reports, substantial, significant, and adverse upon the cultural and natural resources of Mauna Kea. This is taken right out of their own reports. So everybody acknowledges, though, the place is, what has happened up there? In 40 years, just like not even one lifetime of a person. How could that even have happened? How could that happen when how could it happen in the state that we're in has a constitution that's supposed to protect our natural and cultural resources? There are rules and laws to protect the land and the aina. Of course, some of these rules weren't in place in the 60s when some of this first happened, but they were in place in the 70s and the 80s and the 90s when most of this happened up in the Mauna. I want to say what is happening is the overdevelopment of the sacred people. Okay, so it brings us to the 30-meter telescope. I'm not going to dwell too much on the 30-meter telescope, also known as a TMT. Who is the 30-meter telescope? Or what is a 30-meter telescope? Well, it includes partners of Caltech, University of California, Canada, Japan, China, and India. Other than China and India, the rest of the guys are already out there. The 30-meter telescope includes organizations, entities that's already on top of the Mauna. So, and I know we have people in here from these observatories, and I know you didn't build those observatories, but they're there. And the observatories that's there today has caused significant impacts to our people, and to our land, and to our people there. So, when we talk about the partnerships in the TMT, other than China and India, the others are already here. Subaru, Keck, Gemini, Canada, France. The biggest telescopes on the mountain today are some of the partners of the TMT. These same entities have created some of the worst destruction on the top of the mountain today. And that's a fact. That's reality. So, as it was explained to us, what's the people? What has happened on a mountain beyond what you can see? Right? So there's three things that's impacted a mountain. One is, of course, the physical destruction and desecration that has occurred. Right? So to build these telescopes up here, part of this pool was shaved down and cut down upwards to 40 or more feet. They had to shave and cut this pool down to level it off. Then they had to dig down just as far, or if not, down into the pool for the base of these telescopes. Right? So all up top of the top of the sacred pico, that's what's happened. So they say that those on the mountain and those who guard the mountain, the divine ones, the ancestors, they said, so first you have the physical damage. The second impact on the mountain is the electromagnetic interference that's being caused in the mountain. They say they don't say to run this, but we know, to run these telescopes and to keep these telescopes at a certain temperature, there's a large electrical current that runs up this mountain. The way the ancestors explain it is that man-made electrical magnetic energy that's coming up the mountain is interfering with the natural energy lines of the mountain. So the mountains have certain energy lines that run on the mountain. This huge electrical current running up the mountain is causing an electromagnetic disturbance, as they explained to us. So that's the second impact on the mountain. And the third impact is from the human imprint. Humans bring certain intentions and they can put an imprint on the land. And the imprint can either be positive or negative. So you have three things going up on the Mauna: physical, electromagnetic, and an energetic imprint that's causing a disturbance to the sacred people. So this is from the TMT's Final Environmental Impact Statement, page 3-29. The project has the potential to impact the spiritual and sacred quality of Mauna Kea. It's in the TMT's own report. Right? And that's what those on the mountain is telling us too. It's impacting it. How much more can happen on this mountain? They say the mountain cannot take any more. There's a tipping point. It's already disharmony and imbalance causing the mountain, but there's a certain point, they say, when you're going to push it too far. When I say they, man is going to push things too far. It's already at the tipping point. This TMT is going to push it. And the Mauna has to respond. The mountain, they say, is not going to respond out of retaliation. The mountain is going to respond to try to put things back into balance. And the mountain can do that in many ways. And it's not the mountain, they say, it's Keawekane. Keawekane has the last say, they say, in what happens on this mountain. So what is the TMT? What's the size and scope of it? Everybody said, well, it's just another telescope. No, it's not just another telescope. This telescope will be over 18 stories tall. The tallest building on this island. Like we don't even have we don't even have a building 18 stories that could you put up here and show you how tall 18 stories is. I gotta go to Honolulu. And so if you know what the state capitol looks like, this thing will be almost twice as tall as the state capitol. Now don't tell me that is not significant. Okay, if you're looking from the state capitol from the Punch Bowl Street, the size of the dome is almost as wide as the state capitol. Don't tell me that is not significant. And guess who's going to see that every day? Well, you guys only 14%. That's what the report says. Well, only 14% of people can see it, which is us, Waimea, Hamakua, and parts of Kona going to see it. But we're going to see it 100% of the time. We don't care whether 14% are going to see it. We're going to see it 100%. And everybody who passes through here is going to see it. If you think the ones on top, you can see them. Wait till this. This is huger than any of them on the Mauna right at the moment. And that's why TMT stands for Too Many Telescopes. Now, we never make up these words. Kids made up these words. Kids can understand what's happening. Kids came up with this thing, too many telescopes is what TMT equals. But we're saying enough is enough. Now I heard in the news that, well, this is going to be the last one. We've heard that before. We're not fools. Our community, I'm not just talking about Waimea, I'm talking about the Hawaii Island community, and most of them wasn't even Hawaiians. At one time there was a community group that was selected to make and come up with recommendations, and most weren't even Hawaiians, and he said, you should stop at 6. That's when the things was going like, oh, what's happening on the Mauna? Stop at 6. 6 should be the limit. But BNR disregarded that and then continue on. And then there was a report that said, oh, it should have 11. The next thing that you have a new report, and the numbers is left out of the report. Now we're at 13. And they tell us, well, there's only going to be one more. No, don't tell us that, because we already know. I've actually read the report done for the TMT in like 2009 and read TMT. If they had their way, they would build a 60-meter or 100-meter telescope. But see, they don't have the technology and means to do that. The biggest telescope is the Keck, which is a 10-meter. So to jump from 10 meters to 60 meters is too much. The technology, the mirrors, and everything else to figure it out, they don't have the means to figure it out. We're going from that 10 meters, which is huge, to go to 60 or 100 meters. So they figured, let's go to 30 meters. And 30 meters will be the stepping stone to the 60 or the 100-meter telescope. It's in the reports. You gotta just read the reports. But in the end, those on the mountain said, relax. They said the telescope will not be built. Because humans think they're in control. Humans are under the illusion they're in control, and they're in control of what's happening on the mountain. The divine ones, Keawekane, the creator, they are in control. And he says the Mauna cannot take that. But as humans, sometimes humans want to proceed forward. In order to proceed forward, to have a project such as this in a conservation district, you have to have a conservation district use permit. And according to the permit, there's 8 criteria that you have to meet. And this is Hawaii Administrative Rules 13-5-30C. And there's 8 things you have to meet. And I couldn't put all 8 up here, but I can put up 2 that is surely they don't meet the criteria to build this in a conservation district. Number 4, the proposed land use will not cause substantial adverse impact to existing natural resources within the surrounding area, community, or region. The EIS already says they're going to do that. It's going to add to the substantial impacts. Now when you read the EIS, it says, well, it's only going to be an incremental to the ad. Substantial. Number 6 of the 8 criteria, the existing physical and environmental aspects of the land, such as the natural beauty and open space characteristics, will be preserved or improved upon, whichever is applicable. None of those is applicable, because they ain't going to improve upon the natural resources or the open space, and they ain't preserving it. So any question? So, then how can you get a permit? How could all the other telescopes get a permit if they can't meet the 8 criteria? Already telescopes, of course, they didn't have the permitting process, so they were given the permit after the fact, right? But who gives the permits? The Board of Land and Natural Resources. Who appoints the Board of Land and Natural Resources? The governor. Now, we cannot be naive and foolish and think that when you go to all these hearings and when you give testimony, that they're actually listening to you. Because the decisions are already made way before you even got to the meeting. You gotta know, like many developers, like the TMT, they already went and talked to all these guys ahead of time. And they already got assurances from those who are in the power to give permits, that submit your permit and we'll see it through. That's how all our telescopes got built up there. And that's how this one was being proposed, and this is how that permit got passed through. How can you get the permit passed when you can't even meet the 8 criteria? And you say, well, you're talking about conspiracy? No, I'm talking about reality. If you live in Hawaii all your life, you've been to hearings after hearings, you've been to all these things, projects and meetings and hearings, you're just going through the formality of it, because they have to have a hearing. They don't even listen to, I can give the most relevant, accurate information to the board just to consider, and they will easily just dismiss it. They won't even look at it. They won't even take in consideration. because the decisions have already been made. He said, oh, I can tell the decisions already been made. We know this. Okay. We're still in a contested case here. Okay, so they passed the permit. Let me give it a real short. We have the astronomy timeline. I'm going to go real quick. So the BNR gives a permit. So if you don't agree with the permit, then you can ask for a contested case hearing, which we did. And not just we, but six petitioners, including Kealo Pescola, who represents Mauna Kea, Paul Neves, Ku, Clarence Ching from Waimea, Debbie Ward, Kahea, the organization Kahea, and the Flores case Ohana asked for a contested case hearing. Contested case hearing, the board, the BNR assigns like one hearing officer. You basically, it's like a court, but it doesn't have all the same formalities, and you present witnesses and testimony, and the hearing officer hears your case, and then he makes a decision. Okay, we never finished the contested case hearing. At the Washington Place in November 2011, former Governor Abercrombie is hosting a TNT gathering. It's as if the permit has already been granted. And who was at this? And some of you guys might have been there, but we didn't get an invitation. But TNT representatives, all the partners were there. A number of businessmen from Hawaii Island who've been promoting this project was there, invited. UH representatives were there, of course. Attorneys were there. And then, what's the other one was there? And our Hawaii congressional members were there. So politically, from the top down, people were there. It was as if the permit was already granted. It was giving them the assurance that, don't worry. And so the contested case went on, and it took the hearing officer over a year to come up with a decision. And the decision was basically he would cut and paste the UH's position and just put it in his report and gave it to the BNR. So how do we know that there's no political influences in all these decisions? Well, we do know, because if you go to the case in Maui, the Kila case, the Hale one, they were in contested case before us, and they were a hearing officer. And they actually got the emails, correspondence between the hearing officers and Senator Inouye's office, and Senator Inouye's office was pressuring the hearing officer to pass a favorable decision to allow that telescope to be built. And so they went through, that stuff went through different things, but that came out through discovery, through email. So there's things going on. We cannot be naive that discussions are going on outside of us, our scope. These things are being discussed. And so guess what the name of the telescope on Lanakila? You gotta know there's political influences and business influences that's pushing these things through. And so who are we? We're just the public, members of the public. We see that something is wrong. Not just because Mo'ina told us, but because if you look at the books and you look at the laws, they're not following the rules and the laws. So they know that the public, a member of the public, they gotta go to court. So once the hearing officer gives a report favorable for the permit, then we gotta go to court to challenge it. And so we went to court. And so we didn't get two favorable results in the circuit court. So the next step in the court is the Intermediate Court of Appeals. But then we asked for a transfer because Kila case already went through there and they didn't get a favorable ruling. So why go there? Just go to the Hawaii Supreme Court. But the Hawaii Supreme Court doesn't necessarily going to take your case either. But they found that there was enough merit in the case and they took our case. And they had already heard the Kila case. And there was already procedural problems with the Kila case, the Haleakala case. And if you know the one that we're challenging the permit, was heard. You can go online and heard by the oral arguments by Hawaii's State Supreme Court. So part of the rhetoric, part of the what you hear in the newspaper, well, they followed the process, and it's been 7 years, and they've got approval by the circuit court. Marys, the process ain't over yet. It didn't just stop one place. The process is still ongoing. So let's wait to a decision from the Hawaii State Supreme Court and see what they have to say. But you see, the TMT realized that they don't want to wait for that. What's going to come up? Well, here's the governor shaking hands with everybody there, as if, oh yeah, no problem, everything's a goal. I mean, he says that. I'm not saying giving him words in his mouth. He said that here on the island. He says that TMT will be built. And he said those few little Hawaiians is something. He just kind of made some derogatory remarks about people who decide to stand up for the Mauna. Anyway, so if you know the Lanakila case, they proceeded ahead. Even though it's in court, they proceeded ahead, and it's almost like 80% finish. So if the court decides at this point in time that you never follow procedures, what is the court going to do? They're not going to make you take them down, right?
They should.
But they're not. They're not going to make you take them down. So what is the recourse? There's no recourse. Gotta get your own bulldozer up there. Okay, so October 7th. Okay. So October 7th, there's going to have a groundbreaking event up on the Mauna for the TMT. And that was stopped. And it's amazing how things happen. Because it wasn't really a plan to stop it. It just happened. There was a plan to have a prayer vigil below at Puhulu, which was happening at the time. But things unfolded. And everything that happens, you just got to follow your na'au and your guidance. And so they stopped the official groundbreaking event.